everybody. Welcome back to Mysterious Pal Show. My name is Chris, and I am joined by the Beast in the East, the Best in the West, the North and South, above the rest.
Ooh.
His name is Jordan.
Hey.
He's my pal.
Hey,
Jordan,
hey,
welcome
hey.
aboard.
Hello. Hi.
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 You doing okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. I know it's a long flight, and your arms are tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back again for the second part of our show, because it is a continuation from part one. We have, from the deepest reaches of the unknown universe, deep within the earth, the secrets,
his bunker,
keeping the secrets of all mankind. His name's Brian. Bunker Brian is welcome. Welcome.
Bunker Brian.
It's great to be back here talking about this mysterious killer that's roaming free, or well, possibly. I don't know. He's probably dead.
Murders. We're back to talk about murders.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, and I see you. Did you fill up your fuel there? You fueled everything up?
Yeah, these computers have been personally fueled. What I've done is drank all of my '80s computer juice boxes back to back, and I've filled all these computers.
And they're all calculating important.
Computing. They are processing who the Zodiac is right now.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's going to take about 300 years to get hardware, so I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
out.
C:// that's how you boot up a game in.
No, if I keep drinking this juice box, you will see my colon.
Yeah. Okay. C:// Yes. Parentheses. Choplifter. .exe.
Choplifter.
Don't.
Had / River Raid black /
Backslash.
2600.
I have an entire case of Commodore games.
Really?
Yeah, and I have 2 Commodores, like the TV ones. I don't know if they work still, and like 2 of the disk drives, and I think 1 of the keyboards. Yeah, and I don't know. I was like, where'd you get all these games, Dad? They're all, because none of them are just written in pen. They're all written in pen. I'm like, where'd you get all these? It's weird. Wonder why that whole system went down. Piracy, huh?
Yeah. I actually, it's funny you said that, because when I was growing up, the games would start up and it's like you'd see a pirate flag raising, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that how that one company got started? The Cyberpunk and the Witcher company and Cyberpunk.
Oh, CD Projekt Red?
Yeah, they were like Eastern European pirating team.
Really? That's how they started.
That's how they started, because I guess, in Eastern Europe, it might have been, they couldn't get, in the 80s, you couldn't get software in, and so they were copying it from the West, getting it in. I think that's how it started. I know it was some kind of hacking thing. Yeah.
I won't get too off track, but have you guys heard or seen the documentary about Tetris, the movie or the documentary?
I keep on hearing about that. Is it good?
It's really, really interesting. I'll keep it short, but basically, like, they exported it out of Russia, but it was this huge scam where these software companies were making money on it without Russia or the original developer making any royalties on it. And eventually, Nintendo wanted to buy it out, but it went to this huge court case, and it's like this huge scandal too. That's why they made it a movie eventually. It was pretty cool.
And that's what the documentary's about and the movie's about?
Yeah, there's a good UK documentary, like a BBC documentary. It might be called From Tetris with Love or something like that. And then the movie Tetris itself is it focuses on the purchasing of the licensing and like the whole scandal and everything. It's pretty crazy.
I'll have to watch that. Never. Thank you for telling me. You gave away the ending there.
Oh,
spoiler alert.
We know how it ends. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What happened in Titanic? Don't tell me.
Hey.
It's on the bottom of the sea. Don't tell me.
Hey. Jack was a beautiful human being. He gave up his place on the door.
I've seen bits and pieces of the film in 4K now, so it was quite beautiful.
He is a god among men.
The caps.
Old Leo. All right, we're gonna get to something way better than the Titanic, I think.
Speaking of handsome devils.
Speaking of We gotta move along to the Zodiac Killer again. This is part 2, and it's actually been like a month since we recorded the part 1, so this review was good for me and for everybody out there, maybe. I don't know. You might be listening to it in succession. But the first episode was like 2 hours long, and it was a real doozy to get through to edit. And this is the longest undertaking so far I've undertaken.
He called up the Undertaker.
Yeah, I undertook this to write to Paul Bearer came out.
Paul Bearer. He was all upset.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
He's passed away.
Oh. Undertaker's still kicking though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Undertaker's still around. He's retired, but he's still around.
Did you hear that news about this is so off topic. People hate when we do this. Tyson and Logan Paul or Jake Paul, one of those are gonna box.
Man, that'd be great.
Oh, we talking about the Tyson thing?
Yeah.
I hope Tyson just lays him out, man.
Tyson, like I don't know if he still hit his heart. I mean, he used to hit like a truck apparently.
Yeah.
He used to be like so awesome. He's in his like late 50s though. I'm sure he can still.
In my opinion, yeah. I've seen videos of Tyson in the last few months, like with a walking cane and everything.
Oh, jeez.
But
Crap.
I've also seen training videos of him going to town, just wailing on dude pads. So I mean, hey, Tyson might get a little juiced up. That's all I'm saying. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm sure he can still hit, but I'm not sure about his stamina. That's the thing.
I mean, you get hit once with that dude.
Yeah.
I just remember, I watched like videos of him, just like YouTube clips of him. Just God, he hits so hard.
I'd be terrified.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of amazing boxers out there now today that can hit really hard, but he was just like, Butterbean is also on his way back apparently too. Is that what I heard?
Oh, we're gonna talk about Butterbean. What are you thinking about him?
Brian Bean's back, everybody.
Brian Bunker Beans.
All right, we got to move on. Is it Bunker Beans? He's back. Bunker Beans is here to stay. Here we go.
But before we get into the Zodiac, the last since we're talking about just horrible, like painful, like knockouts. If you haven't seen the Power Slap,
Wait, what's that?
The TV show where like they actually smack each other in the face.
yeah. So basically, the guy that owns UFC bought it out. It was like they were holding these like backyard tournaments all over the country or world, whatever. And yeah, it's like this officially sanctioned thing where two people stand at a stand, face each other down, and the other person has to take the hardest slap possible.
There's some crazy slaps.
That's amazing.
Pause this video, open another tab. Let's look that up. Come back. Come back. Here we go. All right, so we're going to talk about JD. No, wait. Cut that.
Gonna talk about JD Salinger.
Catcher in the Rye. What a twist.
All right.
JD Salinger.
We're going to talk about the Zodiac Killer was a serial murderer who operated in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s. The case is notorious for its cryptic communications that he sent to the media, he or she sent to the media, and law enforcement, including ciphers and letters signed with the distinctive symbol. The Zodiac Killer communicated to the public and authorities through a series of these cryptic letters, which created this aura of mystery and terror. He sent more than 20 of them to police officials, newspapers, and individuals between 1966 and 1974. Some of these letters included ciphers that have remained unsolved to this day. Some have been solved. The Zodiac's letters were typically signed with a symbol resembling the crosshairs of a gun sight. Each letter began with an ominous phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." The victims of the Zodiac Killer, the confirmed victims, which we covered last episode, we have David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, killed on December 20th, 1968. Michael Mageau and Darlene Farron shot on July 4th, 1969. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard stabbed on September 27th, 1969. Hartnell survived that attack, but Shepard died 2 days later. And Paul Stein shot and killed while driving his taxi in San Francisco on October 11th, 1969. This is the only attack in which the Zodiac Killer claimed his victims in an urban setting. The Zodiac Killer also claimed responsibility for initial murders and attacks and letters sent to newspapers, but these claims have not been definitively linked to specific crimes. The case remains unsolved, despite extensive investigations and numerous suspects over the years. Zodiac Killer Say that again. Zodiac Killer's true identity remains one of the most fascinating mysteries in criminal history. So now we'll continue this journey along on the murder train. The first stop of this leg of our journey for part 2 is at Motive Junction. We're going to get off at Motive Junction.
Motive Junction.
Motive Junction being the place.
Imodium?
Imodium D junction.
So the motive, the Zodiac Killer's motive, remains shrouded in mystery, as never stated in any of his letters or communications. He never really kind of like, this is why I'm doing this. I guess he never really put that out there. But there's been several theories, obviously, and speculations. Because the murders did not fall under federal jurisdiction, though, I didn't know this. The FBI never officially opened an investigation into the Zodiac Killer.
Really?
According to the FBI website. That's according to the FBI. They've never officially, because it didn't fall under jurisdiction, and there's a lot of things where like someone has to ask, like the state has to actually ask them to come in.
Okay.
There has to be like, and there also, unless it's cross state lines, then they can get involved, I think is how it works. There's a lot of, don't quote me on that, but I know that they have to be asked or brought in. Because that was an issue with when we talked about the disappearance of the kids on Christmas.
Oh, yep.
That was, the FBI couldn't come in, and they basically, the dad actually begged them to come in and talk, or to investigate.
Wasn't one of his, like, at least in the letters, he said, like, I'm doing this to collect slaves for, like, the afterlife or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue, was like he just kind of made up stuff that like was like really far-fetched, but he didn't really go into like I had a bad childhood, or there wasn't like nothing you could actually pin on that real.
Right.
So local law enforcement asked the FBI to help with handwriting analysis, crypta analysis, and fingerprints. Many people have speculated on the profile of the killer and his motives, including the FBI criminal profiler John Douglas, who's written several books, which some of them are used as for our research. So these are some of the motives, some of the theories for the motives of the Zodiac. The first one is thrill seeker or power trip. Some believe the Zodiac was motivated by a desire for power and control. His taunting letters in the media and police suggest he enjoyed the attention and the fear he generated.
Mm-hmm.
So he liked that kind of power he had over people because he scared them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Why else would you send those letters?
Yeah, right.
The Zodiac's cryptic ciphers and puzzles may have been a way to assert intellectual superiority. That one was going to fall down, and then I kicked it right through. In a profile of the Zodiac Killer on the Crime Library website, Greg McCreary believed the Zodiac Killer's letters shared something about his personality and intelligence. McCreary says, among the most engaging aspects of the crime for him was to be able to taunt the authorities for a superior perspective and to watch the police make fools of themselves. This often indicates a person who feels uncertain about his intelligence to reassure himself he wants to play games with others. The Zodiac needed to think he was smarter than even the best detectives. People who knew him would have been familiar with this. McCreary explored the Zodiac Killer's motives further by saying possible motives were to prove his superiority, get attention, and control the investigation, create a terroristic climate, and relive the crimes via media reports. So he liked that constant sensationalization and everything about it. Another possible motive was revenge or discontent. The murder of Sherry Josephine Bates in Riverside, California is often considered the Zodiac's first confirmed attack. Some theories suggest that Bates may have been a personal target due to the perceived grievances or vendetta. His killer's rage and discontent could have fueled his subsequent attacks. McCreary, again going back to Greg McCreary, pointed to the killer's targeting of couples, which could mean he resented relationships. So McCreary said, going after couples, which he did 3 times, could indicate that he was envious or jealous because he did not or could not have that type of relationship. So I think that's important because when we talk about possible people that could have done this, suspects, thank you, some of the people that were killed were some of the suspects that went to school with them. I think Sherry Josephine Bates was one of the ones that, like, one of the suspects went to school with her. And so they connect some of the people that got murdered by people who went to school with them.
Yeah.
And like one of them, One of the suspects followed one of the murder suspects, or that survived, across the country when she moved to New York, and he followed her.
Jeez.
I was just going to say on your points, Chris, real quick before you get into the next stop. Back on the letters, he started, at least it seemed this way, he started taunting, like you said, he started taunting, seeing what he could get away with in the newspaper, seeing what he could start printing. And then he started getting more like pushy, I guess, like threatening with his letters. Not only, getting like talking about the victims and like giving proof and things like that, but then eventually making empty threats like start shooting children on school. And he started putting more demands in the things too, like people wearing cross buttons, like his crosshair zodiac symbol and things like that. And he would definitely like reference that that things didn't go through and he would be disappointed, but I don't know if that like amplified his killings anymore, or at least his threats per se. But he definitely like went back and forth like that between his letters. And the other thing I was going to say is the personal thing before he started sending letters is like you said, Sherry Bates. A few of the suspects touched on how far away the relationship that he could have known her on a personal level through friends or friends of friends through parties and seeing her at work and things like that. So he could have like touched on that point, like you said, with the going after couples, because maybe he had a disconnect with a lot of like females. Again, it's all assumption, but if that was happening, that first like killing could have started initiating that, and then he could have just started picking up on things around his personal life to send to these newspapers and police to taunt them. It's just interesting to think about, because it's like, like what motivated him beyond that first step to start taunting the police and the newspapers to go after him. Like what pushed him to do it? Yeah.
But he definitely had some mommy issues, that's for sure.
He may have not known these people at all, but he may have interacted with them some way. You think about like someone you went to high school with that you like said hi to.
Yeah.
And then like it turns out that person killed like 20 people. Like or like you think about people that like you at work, and then they go out and murder a bunch of people. You're like, interactions you had with them could have sent them in one direction or another, or like.
Well, you saying like you might have triggered them?
Not so much, or like stopped them for a couple of days. Like there's a lot of different things that how you affect people in your workplace and your schooling and
reverberations of that.
And this one like Sherry Bates may have asked her out or asked for a phone number. She said, "Ooh, no, get away from me," and that could have just snapped. And then he was following her around. You don't know if he was following her around for months.
Right, he could have been. But it was that after he went through with it, was that the catalyst that started him going after? I mean, like, you don't know if he knew these people. I mean, I'm assuming he didn't, because they were so unrelated. And plus, excuse me, the space of proper like land, like the miles between these killings too, like the distance. So
I mean, he could have been like at a drive-through at McDonald's and they cut him off, and he's like, "I'm gonna follow you for a week and then I'm gonna murder you." It's great.
Like,
it's so interesting about how the story of how he got from A to B. We don't know. Like what did he do in his like the weeks leading up to a murder?
Yeah.
Did he, or is it just totally random?
Well, that's the thing with a cab driver. That seems kind of out of place with what he was doing.
At least at the time.
Yeah, and we talked a little about that last episode about how it was just so random. He may have been getting angry, getting cornered, that type of thing. And there's different levels. I don't really know a lot about how serial killers work and the different ways they classify them. I've looked into it, but like there's a lot of really interesting things, like people that do it just for the body, like they want just the body. Some people do it for the revenge or the anger of it. Like they lose their minds. Some people do it because they're interested.
There's all kinds of reasoning, but yeah, what blows my mind about it is that if it was on a personal level to start, that if it spiraled off into like this killing spree, but it was like also planned. Like it was like he timed it out.
Yeah.
So
there's a story we're going to talk about later of one of the suspects who also was considered for the another murder in Europe that was kind of the story's kind of a mirror. We may do in a future episode because that's another unsolved thing in Italy, I think, after Venice maybe. I think it's called the Venice Butcher or something. We'll get into it in a little bit, but like same type of concept of the way he killed people and couples. which we'll go into. We may even do a future episode on it. But it's like the European zodiac, they call it, or something. But the next possible motive, is psychopathy or sadism. The Zodiac displayed psychopathic traits, including a lack of empathy and remorse. His brutal stabbings and shootings indicated sadistic tendencies. The thrill of inflicting pain and terror on others might have been his primary motivation. Just that feeling of it goes into like back to superiority almost, but he also just liked doing it.
Being in control.
And just the brutality of it.
Right.
Another one is desire for infamy. The Zodiac's cryptograms and letters were an attempt to achieve infamy by creating by creating an I'm not gonna be able to say this word. Yes.
Enigmatic.
Thank you. Say it again. Enigmatic.
Enigmatic.
That word.
N.
Oh yeah, break it down phonetically. Enigmatic persona. Yeah, mommy. Woo! Here we go. He ensured that these crimes would have been remembered for decades. His choice to target young couples in secluded areas allowed him to maximize fear and media attention. So he just wanted people to know that he's doing it, even though they never knew who he was.
He wanted to become a figure.
Yeah.
I mean, and we
certainly
see that
based on what he wrote.
Another one is symbolic obsession. Zodiac's use of symbols such as a circle with a cross suggests a deeper obsession. Some speculate that he saw himself as a harbinger of doom or a cosmic force. His fixation on astrology and the celestial events adds to this theory. So he has a symbolic obsession that like he's going to bring the end of the world if he does this and this. His symbol is going to be the Antichrist, or you always have that.
Would he ever allude to something like that though?
I think there's just theories on like what profiling would be.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to figure out like maybe he did think
George.
maybe he didn't get to that point. Maybe he we'll talk about some of the suspects that were locked up for random things that may have stopped it, and maybe he just never got to that point. Maybe that's what he thought in his mind, but part of the story was he couldn't tell people.
Yeah.
Like he was like, if it gets out, they have to know that I'm the Antichrist or whatever. And then the last one that I have for motives is failed identity and control. The Zodiac's inability to establish clear identity, despite his cryptic messages, may have frustrated him. His need for control over the narrative led to the creation of elaborate ciphers. Zodiac's letters often contained threats to kill more people if his ciphers weren't published, indicating a desire for control over law enforcement in the media. So that goes into our first one of someone who's a thrill seeker of power. He wants power over people, but that also points to he doesn't have any control in his life, and he's trying to do this to get control. So what do you guys think of the motives?
I feel like there could have been like a morality thing too. I see that a lot of times with like serial killers, like they're unhappy with the way society's going. They kind of like, I'm doing this for the sake of, morals or religion or something like that. It's why he's...
I think that's a symbolic obsession. Type of thing. Yeah, but they don't really go into it.
Maybe it's why he's like targeting these young couples who might be sinning.
Yeah.
These spots they're at, he's like, I gotta take this matter in my own hands.
Yeah, there was another serial killer that was big in that. He was like doing it to help their souls or something, or cleanse the earth. I don't know. Probably all
most of them.
Yeah.
But again, the cab driver, like, what was that about?
It's interesting to think if it was he did it intentionally, or if he did it to throw off the track.
Yeah.
Or was it him?
Yeah.
We don't know and we'll go into this.
Well,
a lot of theories on that.
Didn't some teenagers claim they saw him after like that shooting happened with the cab driver?
Yeah, but then how do they know that was him?
Yeah, that's true.
He could have been just taking credit for it.
Yeah.
I think there was like 2 police that received the description, but they let him pass.
Yeah.
And just let him slide.
But also, like, there's a lot of white guys walking around with glasses on in the 60s. I'm sure they're balding,
I'm sure they weren't
middle-aged
for a white guy either at the time.
Oh no! And we're gonna go into some of the theories about that. And I mean, we're gonna talk about like it could have been all these murders could have been different people. There's theories on that. The Zodiac could have been just taking credit for all of them. This guy that just like, because you see that even now, You know how many letters someone gets whenever they. So, when there's like a big murder, like a unsolved murder in current like today's society, like right now. And I heard this with a recent disappearance that turned like that girl Gabby, whatever her name was. Like her boyfriend murdered her, and she was like on the road with him. It was like last year, 2 or 3 years ago. Gabby Pinto or something, Pintado. So when she died, there was stories about how people were just writing her family and just being like, I murdered her. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And like calling her house, and like there's just insane people out there that just take credit for stuff. And back in the 70s, it's not like they're calling or posting stuff online. This dude was just even some of the victims said that they got calls from people, they got letters. Even that show that he's supposedly on. How many people called in and was like, I'm the Zodiac, and they're like, no, I'm the Zodiac, and like, so it just could have been that type of thing where it's just someone's taking credit for it.
Almost in a way like to the in the 70s and 80s, like the Satanic Panic thing. It's just that mob mentality. Right. Once you start rivaling the hive, people are going to start assuming everything.
We went into sensationalism with the media last time, like how the media blew this up.
Yeah.
The media was one of the problems with this, making it. I mean, he even used the media. Like he used the media properly. Like he was doing it, but like the media fed into it, and then people started feeding into it. Society fed into it, and then it became this whole worldwide thing. To this day, it's still one of the biggest murder unsolved cases in the world, and there's tons of them. Like if you watch, there's a show on Netflix about I think it's called The Killing Fields, and it's like only 4 episodes long, but it's about all these like in Texas between these big refinery towns. There's just like open area. It's like open fields, swamp, like all kind of crap. There's just people murdered and dumped in there all the time. Like there's so many unsolved murders every day, every year, every 10 years that there's no way to identify murders because it's just like, and it's not put on the news as much. It's like always that story of like, this is terrible. If it's a blonde white girl, it's going to be all over the news. But if it's not, then they don't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, everything's bigger in Texas, Chris.
Yeah.
The
kill
murders.
List, yeah.
The murders.
There was a girl that was it was like 6 months ago, maybe like 3 months ago. A girl was riding her bike around a lake on vacation with her family in upstate New York. And she's abducted. She's like, this is like I think 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old girl. She disappears. And like for, I think a day or two, I think it's like 2 days. Everybody's obviously police, everybody's like searching the area, dogs and everything. And then one night, like a day or two later, one night, someone puts a letter into their parents' mailbox. And the police like, what the hell are you doing? Like police were out obviously staking the house out. You have to be an idiot not to do that. And it was a letter was like, I have your daughter, give me $10,000 and I'll let her go. And it was like some random guy that just lived around there. And they were like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I need money. And they went back to his
So was he the one that did it?
Yeah. They went back to his trailer. The girl was just in his trailer hanging out. She was fine, thankfully. But it was like, he's like, I just need money. I took the girl because I need money. He didn't hurt her, nothing bad. Like he just took her and was like, I need money. I'm going to hold you until your parents pay me. And it was a trailer in the back of his mom's house too. Like it was in his mom's yard.
I was going to say, like, in that mindset, like, how do you think you're going to get away with it?
Why would you just write a letter and put it in the mailbox? Yeah. Like, use the internet or something. Like, come on.
It's not just that. Like, let's say for whatever reason, his crazy mind. But let's say he did go through with that and did get them, and then he goes back to the trailer. That's a trailer around the corner that has $10K in it.
Yeah, like.
Eventually, they're gonna figure it out.
They're not gonna just like give you $10,000. You're gonna walk away and never see anybody again. It's only $10,000.
Yeah.
And like, what are you gonna do with that?
Blue stuff in there.
Yeah, the dye.
Or they'll be like, as soon as he picks it up, they're gonna just like a cop's gonna run out of a window and tackle him.
It'll be like the Chris Hansen cops.
But thankfully, she was okay, and the girl was returned home.
Take a seat.
But moving on from motives. We're going to talk about, before we go into suspects, we're going to talk about why could he remain unidentified. So why could the Zodiac Killer remain unidentified? And this is kind of research. People talk about why he has been identified, why he will remain unidentified. And obviously, as time goes on, the likelihood of him being identified is like multitudes.
The DNA is drying up.
Well, if you think about like what is it, the first 48 hours of a murder or something, they can't solve it. They're probably not going to. It's going to become a cold case. All right, so this is the Zodiac Killer managed to elude capture for extended period of time, obviously, despite the intense efforts of law enforcement. Here are some of the key reasons behind his ability to remain unidentified. The first one is intelligence and planning. While homicidal and possibly deranged, the Zodiac was far from impulsive or unintelligent. He meticulously planned his attacks, choosing secluded locations and targeting unsuspected couples that he wasn't technically, probably, we don't know, connected to. His ability to evade capture suggests a calculated mind that understood how to avoid leaving incriminating evidence. Like, he was pretty good about cleaning up himself, especially in the 70s, 60s and 70s. Obviously, today it'd be a little different. There's lots of cameras everywhere, but...
Right.
Another one is taunting and media attention. Zodiac actively courted media attention by sending taunting letters and cryptograms to news outlets. His extensive body of written work fueled fascination with the case, creating a mythology around himself. By crafting a real-world supervillain persona, inspired by pulp fiction and comic books, he ensured that the public remained captivated and he could remain elusive because they were looking for a superhero, not a normal person.
It's all the comic books' fault.
Right? Yeah, definitely. And this is the time when they hate comic books, right? Yeah.
It's the devil's art.
Right. And then it made $100 trillion in the movies. Weird. Okay. Another one is lack of clear patterns. Obviously, we've talked about this before. Unlike some serial killers who follow predictable patterns, the Zodiac attacks were diverse, other than there were couples, and they were of a certain age, but they were spread out and sporadic. There wasn't one location. He targeted different locations, used various weapons, stabbing and shooting, and attacked victims of varying ages. The lack of clear patterns made it challenging for investigators to connect the crimes, identifying consistent modus operandi. Yeah, say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, MO.
You got it.
I think that's important to realize because the other thing about that people don't point out, there's only 5 murders attributed to him.
Right. And one of the people survived, but like he gave an account of what the Zodiac looked like, but how reliable is that?
Right. Especially in the time.
Over time.
Yeah. Because the one that survived was one of the ones in the car. Is that right?
He got stabbed or shot, I think, and he survived.
That was the second victim,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, the guy.
The guy,
Yeah.
He got
Car
stabbed.
was he in the car, or was this the guy that was at the lake? Okay.
No, he was the one before the lake.
Okay.
Mike.
So the next one is cryptic ciphers and codes. Zodiac's use of ciphers and codes add to the extra layer of complexity. His 340 character cipher, cracked by code breakers decades later, baffled investigators for years. The killer's ability to create and maintain these puzzles hindered progress in the case. So he used these ciphers, which people say is genius, to kind of lead them. They were spending so much time trying to solve the ciphers because they thought that the answer was in the ciphers. And so people were spending too much time doing that and not trying to figure out the other actual clues.
Right.
And that was another genius thing that he did to keep people away from him. Over the years, another thing is false leads and multiple suspects. Over the years, numerous suspects emerged, but none definitively linked to the crimes due to his extensive planning, lack of patterns, ciphers, and other things he did. Zodiac's extensive written work allowed amateur sleuths to propose various theories leading to the false leads. So again, normal people got involved, caused a lot of misdirections because they all thought they were investigators. So investigators were pulled in a lot of different directions, a lot of different angles on the case. With a single case, they could have gotten 1,000 calls a day at least, saying that my boyfriend or my husband was a Zodiac killer, and that caused a lot of issues with because they have to track down each one of them and follow up on them. It's just spending too much time tracking them down. So as this case got big, the bigger it got, the more people called in to say that their person they knew were the Zodiac. This guy in high school who hit me was the Zodiac.
Uncle Zodiac.
Uncle Zodi.
Zodi Rody.
Okay. We are going to move on to, finally, what we call theories in this show. But this is
Aliens.
the potential identities of the Zodiac, including aliens from outer space.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
There has to be. I guarantee you, if I search that right now, there's going to be thousands of sites on it.
He's an alien being from the future.
There's going to be tons of TikToks on it.
What do you think the Zodiac is, man? It's a bunch of stars.
Why'd they call it the Zodiac? All right.
Look at the Big Dipper. All right, good.
There's your answer.
So, Bunker Brian, I know you have extensive background in the Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
In your years and years and years.
Yes, I have over 1,000 floppies ready to go. 5.25 dual magnetized discs full of Zodiac information.
Well, I'm hoping you can help out with some of this stuff because I'm going to go through some of them. Now, there's obviously so many people. There's also a beef I stumbled upon between the zodiackiller.com website owner, writer, researcher, and the Zodiac Killer's. There's like beef going between different people that are writing books about this, and they're like friends, and they like in the mid to late 2000s they like break up because one lied to another. It's insane.
And they sent threatening emails to one another.
Yes, and the one guy posted them all.
This is the webmaster speech.
Yes, actually, yes, that's exact. On zodiackiller.com, since it made 1998 was when it first launched. This is the website that looks like a really bad like GeoCities website. But this guy has a whole. He only has like specifically this website has 4 main suspects, and there's lots of other, obviously, but these are the main ones that have the best research done with them, I guess, whatever. But he has an update from July 15, 2020, talking about this certain, he says, unfortunately for years, a certain individual has spread misinformation about this suspect, including false claims, false attacks, and other that have thankfully been finally disproven. And so it goes in, and he talks about, he has this entire website of how this whole background. He's like, he goes into how because of the pandemic, because this was written in the pandemic started, he had time to sit down and like go through all, like write the entire story out of this like 20-year battle with this guy, or friendship then battle, going back to the 90s. Oh, 2006 is when they first met. It's insane. So zodiackiller.com.
They need to go touch some grass.
That's some pure Zodiac clout chasing, right?
The website says zodiackiller.com, the only Zodiac website recognized by law enforcement since 1998. Well,
I need some papers. I need to verify it on my server form.
He does have a pretty extensive, like, there's not a lot, like, there's a lot of stuff out there, and he's pretty well trimmed down. But anyway, let's go to our, do you guys want the most ridiculous or the most common kind of boring one first?
The most ridiculous.
Yeah, most absurd.
Okay, the first, here's one of 2 that I pulled out as the most ridiculous.
Pee Wee Herman.
Number 1, Ted Kaczynski.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Never heard that.
I never actually heard this one.
There's a theory that points to the Unabomber as being the Zodiac Killer. Ted Kaczynski, who died in prison in 2023, conducted a bombing campaign between 78 and 95 when he was arrested, according to the reporting. Some speculate Kaczynski lived in the Bay Area around the time of the Zodiac killings, and he also sent taunting letters to authorities as the Unabomber, much like the Zodiac Killer. So that's the only concept, like the only kind of crossover was he sent letters, but he may have learned that from the Zodiac Killer. So, and he was around the area, which a lot of people were. Number 2 strangest is the Manson family.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Heard that.
Following the capture of Charles Manson, his murders, called a 1970 report.
Yeah, because they were around the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A report by the California Bureau and Criminal Identification and Investigation stated that all male members of the Manson family had been investigated and eliminated as Zodiac suspects. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Manson family.
No, either do law enforcement.
To be honest with you, Ted Kaczynski is a bit of a stretch too.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was in the area and he liked to ride.
He was a writer.
Put 2 and 2 together.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through this in like the rest of these guys. So there's a multiple section, multiple killers theory, which we're gonna go into last. Unless you want me to do that first.
You do what you feel like doing.
What do you like?
Do the multiple.
Okay,
That's
here's the multiple killer theory. So there's a couple different ones here before we go into the real ones.
Sure.
First off, multiple killers. Some investigators propose that the Zodiac Killer was not a single individual, rather a group of people involved in the murders. The theory suggests that different individuals took turns committing the crimes and collaborated under the same name. That's like they were all connected. They were all multiple killers. Yeah, they were like a gang or like a group.
The Zodies.
Yeah. And that the one guy was like the leader and he wrote all the letters.
Okay.
Number 2 of the multiple killers theory, multiple murders theory. Copycat killers. After the initial Zodiac Killer murdered his first victims, some believe the copycat killers emerged. These individuals mimicked the original Zodiac's modus operandi and continued the murders, perpetuating the legend. So,
all right,
possibility.
Yeah.
But again, that to me that kind of sounds like, because there's probably a lot of murders around this time.
Yeah.
A lot of unsolved murders.
Yeah.
A lot of assumptions.
Like when was the boy who got that one episode we did on the boy, Walter Collins.
That was the 20s.
Oh. Well, I mean 1900s, I guess. But I mean, how many people that are still they were finding how many bodies buried that farm?
Yeah.
You know? Could have been that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. The next one is the killer and the letter writer. Which another theory posits that there were two distinct individuals, the actual killer and a person responsible for writing the letters. These two people might have worked together or acted independently, helping each other out to kind of like gain the fame from each other. Like they were like. My last multiple killers theory. There was a recent documentary by on Peacock, which all the good stuff's on Peacock, I guess, called Myth of the Zodiac. You guys watch that?
No.
Myth of the Zodiac. It's recent, like very recent. Suggests that the Zodiac Killer may not have even existed. It was a myth. Again, like I go into, he could have been not real.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Didn't they provide?
Was that a figment of everyone's imagination?
You just say otherwise. Hold on a second. Didn't he, in the second letter, send a stitch of clothing with the blood of one of the victims?
Yeah,
like
the cab driver, right?
Stated facts about the crime scene and things like that. But what's now your theory is that they never existed?
That's not my theory, dog.
No, but I'm saying that you're saying.
I know I know there's all an auction down in that bunker of yours, but like, big boy, it wasn't me.
Don't make me flicker the lights down here. You're gonna get me upset. I'm just saying.
So
how is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the reason?
It's kind of a combination of these. Like, I think it's a combination of like. Okay, I'll go into a little bit, but like, I think it's a combination of maybe it's multiple people, and there really was, and there's one guy was writing letters, or multiple guys were writing letters just to follow up with the fame. But also here's what they say: if it's not a hoax, obviously the question remains who committed these crimes. These could have been nothing more than multiple murders committed at a specific time frame by different people. The media and society was driven by sensationalism to prop up the Zodiac Killer, and investigators remain laser focused on one killer with a type of framework, given the type of framework, and a very specific type of serial killer, not seeing the other details. Like I said, so many people were reporting things, and it just kept too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen, they would say.
All right.
So that's the non-existent or hoax theory, which again was on a documentary on Peacock called Myth of the Zodiac. Please write me a check, Mr. Peacock, whatever her name is.
There's a game out there called, I think this is the Zodiac.
Oh yeah?
Don't buy it. It's terrible. I was really stoked for it.
What system or genre?
PS4 and Steam, and yeah, don't.
Are you the Zodiac?
Are you? Yeah, I mean, isn't it every game?
You're like trying to discover who the Zodiac is,
right.
But it's not done very well.
Says you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's right.
I
said it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Popsicle.
6. I think 7 people potential. 3 are pretty good. 4 maybe pretty good. 1, a couple of them are kind of not good. But I'll go into my favorite one first.
All right.
Who's your personal favorite? Who's batting 1,000 here?
Giuseppe Bevilacqua.
Whoa. I've never heard of this one.
I did not expect that answer. Let's hear this guy.
Isn't Bevilacqua from... That's something from Seinfeld. It's a person from Seinfeld. Bevilacqua. Anyway, Giuseppe Bevilacqua. Giuseppe
Seinfeld.
Bevilacqua.
Oh.
In 2017, Italian journalist Francisco, I'm going to say Emacone?
Yeah, it looks like Emma Cone.
Independently investigated Giuseppe Bevilacqua, a retired Army surgeon and former superintendent of the Florence American Cemetery and Memorial, connecting him as a suspect in the Zodiac and Monster of Florence cases. Monster of Florence is that one I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Is if you look at like the murders, they're kind of like the same type of thing. It was couples and blah blah blah. We may do an episode on that, so don't look into it, or maybe you'll do it because I'm done with murders. This is
Don't Google it.
Don't Google it. So Francisco, again, the Italian journalist, reported that during a September 2017 phone call, Bevilacqua allegedly hinted at his involvement in both the Monster of Florence and Zodiac cases, initially expressing willingness to turn himself in, but later changing his stance. The conversation was not recorded. Italian authorities dismissed the investigation into Bevilacqua in 2021. Bevilacqua passed away in December 23rd, 2022. Francisco sent Bevilacqua's DNA profile to the U.S. authorities investigating the Zodiac case in November 2023. There was a connection with him and the Monster of Florence because the Monster of Florence is a name commonly used by the Italian media for an identified serial killer active within the metropolitan city of Florence between 74 and 85. So right after the Zodiac would have ended, this guy, like...
It wasn't his
he
last letter in 74?
And he may have went to Florence, I guess is what they're saying, and continued. The monster murdered 14 victims, usually young couples secluded in search of intimacy in wooded areas during a new moons. So same kind of people. The MO may have been different. I didn't really look into like how he killed them, if he stabbed them, shot them. But it was, again, right after he would have left America and went back to Italy. That's what this Francisco was saying.
Interesting.
That's my favorite one because I like the name. Giuseppe. I wish my name was Giuseppe.
I'm just gonna say this.
You look like a Giuseppe.
I used to eat a lot of spaghetti. That's besides the point. Here's my point. Let's say this Giuseppe Valet. How do you say his name?
Bevilacqua.
Let's say he's one of the Zodiac, like a potential.
But he is a potential.
What if he had an accent when he told these victims to get on the ground and stuff?
Maybe, unless he was like the Batman, like Christian Bale was like, get on the ground.
Yeah, I guess he would have had to have an accent, right?
Of course. But did he mask it though? Did he just go like do the growl? I don't know.
You're just doing a horrible Cookie Monster.
Yeah. Hey, wait. Do you know Cookie Monster's real name? He has like a real name. I found this out. Have we ever talked about this?
I don't think.
His real name is Sid.
Sid?
Sid. Before he became Cookie Monster, when he was a baby, his mom made him cookies. His name was Sid. His mom brought in some chocolate cookies. And he turned into the Cookie Monster. And to this day, he's the Cookie Monster.
How'd you find that out?
It's in a song he sings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna say that somebody working on the show has a kid named Sid and threw that in there. Now
it's canon.
The retconned it.
It's canon. All right. I'm going to go to two more. I want to go to two others that are lower on the pole of identities for people who are the Zodiac possibilities. Mm-hmm. Richard Marshall. Police informants accused Richard Marshall, a silent film enthusiast, of being the Zodiac Killer, claiming that he privately hinted at being the murderer. Marshall lived in Riverside in 1966 and San Francisco in 1969, close to the scenes of the Bates and Stein murders.
Is he the one that had a basement? I remember that being a thing in like the movie.
You get into the film.
Yeah.
So, no, in the film, they had Rick Marshall's posters in a guy's basement that used to work, but then he got creeped out. So I don't think that actually happened, but.
So throughout most of his life, though, Marshall alternated between two names for unknown reason. No one knew why. He was born something else, and he called himself Rick Marshall. During the Zodiac's crimes in 68 and 69, he worked in the San Francisco silent movie theater called The Avenue. He hosted screenings of a movie called The Red Phantom, which which the name used by the author of the possible 1974 Zodiac letter. Detective Ken Narlow, who was like kind of the main guy with investigating, said that Marshall makes good reading, but is not very good. He's not a really good person to say is a Zodiac.
Yeah.
In 1976, Marshall became Zodiac suspect after making suspicious comments, like I said, on his ham radio. And he agreed to be interviewed by Ken Narlow, but denied being the killer in the interview. Possible, but probably not. Another one, Louis Joseph Myers. In February 2014, it was reported that Louis Joseph Myers confessed to a friend in 2001 that he was the Zodiac after learning he was dying from cirrhosis of the liver.
Ooh.
He requested that his friend, Randy Kenny, Kenny. Keenan and Kel. Do you know Keenan and Kel had a second movie?
No.
Yeah, they Good Burger too.
Yeah. It's only on Peacock or Paramount.
Paramount.
It doesn't look too good.
It doesn't look too good.
Didn't look
Doesn't look too good.
didn't go look good, Brian. Didn't look good.
Looks pretty horrible, guys.
But all that. Did you I don't know if we ever talked about this on the show.
Can we do a
No.
podcast about all?
No, we were gonna do one on the Boxcar Children book series. Did you ever watch You Can't Do It on Television?
Yeah, loved it.
Yes.
Did you ever see a
But the one with the lockers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where the slime came from. Did you know did you ever see the skit in there where the kids were wearing black bars? They were carrying around the black bars to like block their because they weren't wearing clothes.
I don't remember that one, but I believe it.
Yeah, and like they would hold they'd be like in this house and they were like, "Oh no, don't drop my black bar." And they were like, they put black bars over nudity and stuff. Which I'm really far away from the thing, but
kids were doing this.
yes, in the show.
God,
You Can't Do It. Yeah.
Canadian team.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it was that's a weird show.
Amazing theme song too. I mean, just watch some of those. It's all on YouTube. You watch it.
Yeah, it's just a crazy show.
Yeah, no, dude, like they
Just
had a
watch
kid
that.
on a
Right,
freaking,
Brian.
what's it called? Shooting post.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like a common thing they did, right?
It's like a common
common
skit. That in the
skit.
dungeon.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the beginning of that shoot used to freak me out.
Was-
There's that
wait.
scene where the guy opens up his mouth really wide, and I was like,
And then they put
yeah.
the kids with a meat grinder.
Wasn't the guy on the shooting post like had like a guy and one of the actors was like mimicking Saddam Hussein? Like he was dressed up like him?
Yeah, he was doing some foreign power like dictator.
Yeah.
I forget who.
I'm sure it was Saddam Hussein.
Somebody. Yeah, from the 80s.
All right, so yeah, that's a good show. Anyway, 2014, it was reported that. Okay, I said that he was reported as confessed to being the killer in 2001 to a friend. His friend Randy Kenny went to the police upon his death. Myers died in 2002. Kenny allegedly had difficulties getting officers to take him seriously, so he went to the police as soon as he died in 2002, but he was not being taken seriously. And here's why there could be some kind of crossover that this could actually be him, like he kind of common thing. So the connections between Myers and the Zodiac are there's a few of them. Myers attended the same high school as victims Faraday and Jensen. He allegedly worked in the same restaurants as victim Farron. And between 71 and 73, when no Zodiac letters were received, Myers had been stationed overseas with the military.
all right.
Kenny says that Myers confessed that he targeted couples because he had a bad breakup with his girlfriend. While officers associated with the case are skeptical, they believe the story is credible enough to investigate, as Kenny could produce credible evidence. So that was Dan Noyes was the author. 2014, called The I-Team. Friend confesses to being the Zodiac Killer. So,
Which, by the way, we've been through 2 killers so far that have confessed it on their deathbed that they're the Zodiac so far.
yeah.
I just want you to imagine for a second, like, let's say, like, I'm on my deathbed and I'm like, by the way, I was the Zodiac. And you're like, Brian, they already found the Zodiac. They have the DNA evidence. It's been proven. It's like, oh, I was just fucking right.
And dead.
I like how we're all like gathered around you, like or it's all of us. Like, hey,
In my computer
hey.
lab.
Your computer bunker.
hey, thanks for letting us down here finally.
It smells like pee.
Yeah.
No, that's me. Well, no, I mean I was doing that before I had problems, but that's okay. Anyway, welcome to my computer lab. But the secret is I am the Zodiac, but not really. But I am, but not. So
You're not really dying. You just want us to come over. You lied to us.
Let's want to hang out.
Yeah.
I just wanted you guys to play River Raid with me. Like,
All right, so we're gonna move on to Lawrence Key or Kane, which Lawrence Kane or Key.
2 different last names.
We'll go into that.
Yeah.
1969, during the peak of Zodiac's activity, Kane was 45 years old. He stood 5'9" and weighed approximately 160 pounds.
Right around there. I didn't wait.
Again, every guy in that at that time, basically every American guy at that time.
was the American weight.
He would go on to use many aliases, including Larry Kane, Lawrence Kane.
Larry King. All right.
Yeah.
Larry
He
Tate.
had a lengthy criminal sheet dating back to the 1940s. Kathleen Johns, who claimed to have been abducted by the Zodiac, picked him out of a lineup. So that was the girl that
With the baby?
that he abducted.
Thrown into the car. Yeah.
Pam Huckabee, sister of Zodiac victim Darlene Ferrin, claims Kane followed Darlene in the months before her murder. This guy was following her around. Patrol officer Don Fouke possibly observed the Zodiac following the Stein shooting, said that Kane closely resembled the man he and Eric Zelms had observed walking away from the scene. Okay, puts him in another place. Kane also worked in the same Nevada hotel possible victim Donna Lass. As a result of a massive brain damage from a 1962 auto accident, Kane was allegedly diagnosed by a psychologist in 1965 as losing the ability to control self-gratification.
Oh.
Oh, that was not what it said anybody.
Kane, who was diagnosed with impulse control disorder after suffering brain injuries, was previously arrested for voyeurism and prowling. He was arrested in Redwood City, California in August 1968. The arrest was just 4 months before the Zodiac's first San Francisco Bay Area murders of December 20th, 1968. However, Kane died in 2010 in Rio, Nevada. A French-Moroccan man claimed in 2001 that he solved the Z13 cipher, and the solution to the puzzle reads, "My name is Care," which he said is likely a typo for K. E-K. Others disputed this theory because it couldn't have been used to solve the cipher. So, that's not really a good way to say, like, oh, that solves it.
Yeah.
Who knows? And also, other people say, like, he never actually solved the cipher. That doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. So, obviously, there's a lot of infighting with the people that are, going over this. Okay, so that's Lawrence Key or Kane. Is it K? Would it be Lawrence K? Did I mess that up? Kaye. That's not Key.
Kane or K.
Okay. Okay, I messed it up. It's not Key, it's Kane.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's all right.
Okay. Sorry, Brian.
What are you guys doing over there? What's going
He
on?
looks at you like, oh no. Oh boy, we're getting to the heavy hitters here.
I remember, hold on. I remember seeing somewhere
God,
that.
here we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Someone,
I'm gonna take a drink for this one.
or a group of guys deciphered one of the like longer ones, like
Yeah.
saying that they deciphered it, saying that apparently the Zodiac in this decipher saying he wasn't the one that called the TV station during that whole thing.
Okay, I think I remember hearing about that. Yeah, so reading that. Yes.
Yeah, but that was it.
But the ciphers, it seems like people solve them and then don't solve them. Like it's just like
Right.
everyone's fighting around it because they
Yeah.
want to be the guy that solves it. Obviously, the person who solves it, except for that first one. So.
And whereas like one letter or one section makes sense, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Right.
to the
Right.
rest.
Yeah.
They
They're just looking for
they
answers.
pick out parts and like, hey, look at this, and this is what, and they report on it to get recognition and funding.
It's like that Jim Carrey movie, The Number 13.
23.
Wait, is that
Number 23, isn't it?
Number
Yeah,
23.
Wait,
I'm
but is that the one? Is that come out at the same time as Knowing with Nicolas Cage?
sorry. I don't know if it came out at the same time, but I haven't seen Knowing, but
Oh
I know
no,
what film
it was Knowing, and in 2012 it came out at the same time because they're both about the same crap. Knowing was it was all about the Mayan calendar.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Knowing was like he knew that it was actually happening, and 2012 was about I don't know. All right, so this is the one that got zodiackiller.com and his friend got into arguments about, but it's about Richard Gaikowski.
Gear.
Richard Gere?
Yep.
Who's that?
You know, Red Corner.
Who?
Mothman.
Robert Redford?
Robert Redford. Sneakers.
Snakers.
Did you ever see Pete's Dragon?
Yeah.
Like the new one?
Yeah.
The newest
yeah.
one? The
Yeah.
live action one? No, I guess they're both live action. Robert Redford's in that, and he just plays this weird old guy that's just sitting there he's like whittling stuff, and kids are like, come up to him and like, hey, grandpa.
I don't remember that movie.
The most recent one, like the
Yeah.
like the one with the green dragon, it's like a dog.
Yeah.
He's like telling the story,
Okay.
and he's like in his backyard, and his daughter's the one who finds the boy and adopts him.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So that old guy, he's just whittling in his like carving stuff. It's a weird movie.
So he's the Zodiac
Robert, you said Richard Gere was.
Yeah.
Who's that?
actor.
What's your favorite Richard Gere movie?
I think it's the one with the gerbil.
Scent of a Woman? Is that one of them?
I heard about that one.
No, it's Al Pacino's that one.
Scent of a Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
that's
that
Al
about?
Pacino,
He's a blind guy.
who college kid takes out on the town.
Yep.
Makes sense. You know what movie I saw recently?
Richard Gere's Officer and a Gentleman. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
Richard Gere. That's a Richard Gere joint.
We should have a Richard Gere fest.
I'm telling you, Red Corner is my Richard Gere
Red
jam.
Corner.
What's Red Corner?
I don't know if I know that one.
He's an American businessman. He's trying to seal a deal with like a huge satellite TV thing, and he gets framed for this murder in China.
Is that Coming to America?
No.
That's a good one.
No, it's Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They've been saying they were going to remake that movie for years.
Eddie Murphy is the third twin.
Oh no, they were going to remake it with it was crap. The Rock and Kevin Hart. I don't know if that probably just never got off the ground, but that was supposed to be.
I'm tired of Kevin Hart movies. Just saying.
You don't want to see Borderlands?
Do we need another Jumanji? Come on, man.
Well, that's good. I never saw him.
That Fallout movie looks good.
So that's a show.
Or a show, yeah. Amazon show looks cool.
Yeah, it looks just awesome.
Okay. Well,
Well,
Richard Gaikowski.
Richard Gere.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. So, what was Fried Green Tomatoes about?
A bunch of ladies in like a restaurant, and they were like getting along, and they made some tomatoes.
they made some tomatoes.
I saw recently. This is so dumb. I saw recently that like there's this like kind of like thing people can have. It's not like a disease, but it's like a syndrome or something where you can't picture things in your mind. You're unable to make images in your mind. Like when you think of like an ocean, you can see it in your mind, right? There's people out there that can't do that. There's like a thing. I guess it's becoming more well known. Like people are just like, hey man, I can't do that. And everybody's like, what? You're weird. What do you mean? And so they just can't picture things in their head. Like if they want to invent something or create something, a drawing, they can't because they can't see things in their heads.
All right.
And they can't like develop images in their mind. Anyway.
Yeah. What are they supposed to do?
But that's like it's like a real thing. Like, look, it's crazy. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, where was I going with this?
Does Morgan Freeman have that?
Morgan Freeman picturing stuff in his head? What are you
Does
talking
he
about?
have that?
Wait, what was I going to say?
I don't know. We're talking about Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
You brought that up.
Fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
Fried green tomatoes.
And no, fried green tomatoes. I don't remember. Anyway, Richard Gaikowski. It was reported that some proponents of the theory that Richard Gaikowski could be the Zodiac Killer have pointed to a certain circumstantial factors. These include geographic proximity. He lived in the San Francisco Bay Area during the time of the Zodiac killings, of which aligns with the geographic locations of the crimes. Journalistic backgrounds. Gaikowski had a background in journalism and had some Some had suggested a connection between Zodiac Killer's communications to the media and potential interest in knowledge of journalism.
I was reading over your
Old
show.
Moonrising.
Oh. So he had a background in journalism. Some have noted that initials of Richard Gaikowski match those of Zodiac Killer's known cipher, RG in one case, leading to speculation about deliberate connection. But he used RG sometimes for some reason. Gaikowski served in the military during the 1950s. And this is important because it was known that Gaikowski was trained as a medic. Medics were trained to tear the clothing off bleeding victims to use as a bandage if they did not have access to the proper equipment. Undershirt first, then shirt, then pants if necessary. That was the order they had to do it in. Rip the stuff off. That is the order of cleanliness, with the shirt tail being preferred if tucked in. Zodiac tore off a portion of the victim's shirt tail. Unfortunately, since 80% of the records were destroyed by a fire in 1973, not much is known about Gaikowski's military career. In 1965, Gaikowski was intentionally arrested. So intentionally meaning he got himself arrested for refusing to sign a traffic citation following a routine stop in California. He was an investigative reporter for a local newspaper, so his goal was to write a story about the conditions within the county jail from the perspective of an inmate. So he got himself arrested. He would have had mugshots and fingerprints recorded with in this case. However, by the time Gaikowski became a Zodiac suspect, more than 20 years later, records of fingerprints were long gone, making a comparison to Zodiac's fingerprints impossible without either Gaikowski's consent or court order.
These were lost in that fire, I'm guessing?
That was for his military records.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no evidence that there's no evidence that he gave his consent or anything like that. There was no court order for it. At the time of Gaikowski's intentional arrest, he was living less than 5 miles from the Zodiac Killer's first eventual attack, the Lake Herman Road murders. Eventually, Zodiac victim Darlene Farron of Vallejo, California, got married on June 1st, 1966, and moved to Albany, New York.
Ooh, all right. Long ways
Gaikowski
away.
quickly followed, moving across the country from Martinez, California, near Vallejo. Farron's husband worked on the Albany Times-Union newspaper. Gaikowski worked in the same building at the rival Albany Knickerbocker News. In 1973, 4 years after Farron was killed by the Zodiac, the Times-Union received a letter from someone claiming to be the Zodiac. When solved, the cipher that was included with the letter made references to the Albany Medical Center.
All right.
In 1969 to 1971, Gaikowski was a member of the anti-police, pro-violence, counterculture newspaper commune in San Francisco called Good Times, which had a history of radical ideology. As early as January 1969, the Good Times newspaper was running violent works of fiction that were nearly a blueprint for the Zodiac's future crimes. Wednesday was production day for weekly Good Times newspaper, with the staffers working from early in the morning until very late at night to prepare the new issue. Between Zodiac's debut in 1969 until the Good Times folded in 1973, the Zodiac mailed 15 letters. Never did he mail a letter on a Wednesday, although he did on every other day of the week.
Never on a Wednesday.
Which is the day that they work late.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. At the time of the murder, the Good Times switchboard was located only yards from the residence of the Zodiac's victim, Paul Stein, on Fell Street in San Francisco. I don't know how that's really connected because he shot him in a cab. It wasn't like he was looking for him. Carol, Paul Stein's sister, recognized Gaikowski as having attended Paul's funeral. Stein was killed on San Francisco Washington Street. Only one Gaikowski was listed in the city directory at the time, Richard's cousins, and she lived on Washington Street. Her birthday was October 11th, the very day Stein was murdered by the Zodiac.
A lot of coincidences here.
Stein, a cab driver, was the one victim whom the Zodiac could choose when and where he would be killed. On the very day Zodiac debuted by mailing 3 rush-to-editor letters to 3 separate newspapers in the San Francisco area, each letter containing 1/3 of the code, The Good Times, edited by Kwiatkowski, just happened to run a cover that was split into thirds. It was the only instance of Zodiac mailing a letter on a Thursday until after the Good Times folded in 1973. 5 months later, the Good Times published a 3-part code of its own. The Good Times also occasionally ran sensationalistic Zodiac Killer headlines that were out of place.
Mm.
In articles he published in 1969, Kwiatkowski had the habit of shortening his last name to 4 letters and used multiple spellings such as Gyke or Gyke. Interestingly, Gyke can clearly be seen in Zodiac's 3-part cipher mailed on July 31st, 1969. What's more, Zodiac chose to decode the cipher phonetically. It gives you Kwiatkowski's full last name.
All right.
There's a lot of crap with this guy. At the very time of the Zodiacs wrote his only letter to the Vallejo Times Herald, Kwiatkowski's best friend Bob worked at the very newspaper. Oh, Bob. Even though the Good Times was a counterculture hippie newspaper, once Kwiatkowski came on board, it ran free ads for such unlikely events as performances of the Mikado, the Zodiac's favorite, sometimes who quoted from the Mikado in his letters. On March 13th, 1971, the Zodiac sent a letter to the Los Angeles Times coinciding closely with the mailing. Kwiatkowski was involuntarily committed to the Napa State Hospital after going berserk. He was then diagnosed with a mental illness and began treatment at Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco. The Zodiac didn't write again for almost 3 years.
Oh.
So he sent a letter the same day that Kwiatkowski went berserk.
Yeah.
When Zodiac reemerged in 1974 with letters referring to recent movie releases, Kwiatkowski was operating a storefront theater in Mission District of San Francisco. A film buff, Kwiatkowski eventually became involved with San Francisco Roxy Theater. Nancy Slover, the police dispatcher who spoke with the Zodiac in July 1969, has identified Kwiatkowski's voice as being the same as Zodiac's voice.
Ooh.
In 1686, the Napa County Sheriff's Department briefly investigated Kwiatkowski after urging from the Gold Catcher and Pam Huckabee, who is sister of Darlene Ferrin. The Gold Catcher is like a popular online person who posts a lot about the Zodiac.
It's a screen name, Gold Catcher.
I don't know why that person, I think it's a woman, used that.
By the way, you said she's like 1686.
1986. Did I say 1986? 1986, that's when that happened. The Gold Catcher and Pam Huckabee, sister of Darlene Ferrin. So I guess the Gold Catcher is like the person who does a lot of research, and it's like she's well known online for this. Right. Yeah. Detective Ken Narlow did background check on Kwiatkowski and put him under surveillance for a few nights. In 1986, the California Department of Justice determining that Kwiatkowski's handwriting had consistencies with Zodiac's handwriting and more samples of Kwiatkowski's printing was requested. So the Department of Justice said, this guy.
All right.
We like this guy. There was not enough probable cause for an arrest or search warrant, and the investigation ended. He died of cancer in 2004
Dang.
in San Francisco. Okay, that was a big one. That was our buddy Richard Kwiatkowski. You know anything about Richard Kwiatkowski? Anything you want to add in?
Not the only thing about Richard was I know that he did have relations, or at least you were making references to he followed some of the victims, or at least lived close to them, and did that same thing of like tracking some of the victims or members of their families.
Yep.
That's really the only thing I know about him compared to the other guy you're going to get into. The other guy is my personal favorite.
There's 2 more.
Well, okay, we'll see who's next.
And we're going to put up here Gary Francis Post. A volunteer cold case team claims an FBI official confirmed their suspect for the Zodiac Killer is listed as a suspect and accuses governmental agencies nationwide of inadequate investigations. Thomas Colbert, an investigative journalist leading the nonprofit volunteer team Casebreakers, stated in a press release that a whistleblower on his team was informed by FBI agent that Gary Francis Post, an Air Force veteran, is considered a suspect in a database for the killings, and that the lab has a partial DNA sample. According to the group, Post had been secretly listed as a Zodiac suspect in headquarters computers since 2016. with his partial DNA stored at the Fed's Quantico, Virginia lab. Despite reports, the FBI consistently denies the case is solved, confirming its ongoing nature in October of 2021. The Casebreakers team now believes that they have linked posts to each of the murders and seeks law enforcement to compare DNA found on a hiking mat, confirmed to belong to Post, with DNA from the crime scenes, including mystery hair found on Sherry Jo Bates, who was a potential victim. Riverside Police Officer Ryan Railsback reiterated that Sherry Jo Bates' case is not affiliated with the Zodiac case, stating nothing has changed on the front. In a recent press release, Casebreakers accused law enforcement agencies of ignoring evidence, mishandling DNA, and succumbing to apathy, egos, and fear of humiliation. The whistleblower from Casebreakers emphasized that impact on victims' families and documented over 24 instances of law enforcement unprofessionalism.
Ooh.
This case is so weird and deep. Casebreakers called for a serious review of the actions by SFPD, Riverside PD, and the FBI, emphasizing that the need for answers for the victims' families. FBI San Francisco office reiterated that the investigation into Zodiac Killer remains open and unsolved, declining further to comment due to respect for the victims' families. So that is a recent article, kind of this group, online group, weird online groups, probably have a podcast they probably have a podcast or a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they're out there running their mouths and picking fights with the FBI, which always ends well. Last one, I think. Here we go. That's the last one.
This is Brian's.
This is
Bunker Brian in 2000. Yeah. He's here, everybody. I have his DNA samples.
Where's Chris Hansen?
He's hiding back there.
Why don't you take a seat, Brian?
He's back there on CompuServe. I'll go get him for you.
So this last potential victim, not a victim. He wasn't a victim. He may have been a victim. Last potential identity of potential suspects. Arthur Lee Allen.
Mm-hmm.
In his 2007 work, Zodiac, Robert Graysmith proposed Arthur Lee Allen as a potential suspect given circumstantial evidence. Is that right?
Yeah.
Circumstantial?
Yeah. Proud of you.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Boop. The suspicion surrounding Arthur Lee Allen was potential Zodiac Killer was primarily based on the circumstantial evidence and the circumstances of his involvement in the Zodiac investigations. Here are some reasons why he was considered a suspect. First one, police interviews and search warrants. Allen had been interviewed by the police early in the Zodiac investigations, indicating a connection to the case. Moreover, he was the subject of several search warrants over a period of 20 years. 20 whole years.
Yep.
Suggesting a level of suspicion that persisted over time. Another thing, Robert Graysmith's assertion. The author of his book, Zodiac, advanced Allen as a potential suspect based on the information available to him and the connections he saw in the evidence and Allen's background. The next point is detective consensus. In 2007, Graysmith highlighted that several detectives involved in the case considered Allen to be the most likely suspect. The consensus among law enforcement added weight to the suspicion surrounding him. However, it's crucial to note that despite these factors, Allen was never conclusively proven to be the Zodiac Killer. In fact, in 2010, David Toshi, a key figure in the investigation, stated that all evidence against Allen had ultimately turned out to be negative. The lack of concrete evidence and conclusive proof had left the identity of the Zodiac Killer unresolved. The case remains one of the most enduring in criminal history. Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992. So, that is my exhaustive list.
I remember seeing somewhere that a relative of Arthur Lee Allen got some DNA samples and sent them in, and it didn't match. I don't know what he or she gave.
So, in May of 2018, the Vallejo Police Department announced that their intention to attempt to collect the Zodiac's DNA from the back of stamps he used during his correspondence.
Ooh.
The analysis by a private laboratory was expected to check the DNA against GED match. It was hoped that the Zodiac would be caught in a similar fashion to serial killer Joseph James D'Angelo. May 2018, a Vallejo police detective said that the results were expected in several weeks. As of October 2022, no results have been reported.
Jeez.
So we, at this point, any suspects that we have are deceased.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much all of the main. Now, there's so many suspects. If you look out there, there's so many. But I gave kind of the silly ones and then also a bunch of those. Yeah.
Right.
If they looked at this guy for 20 years, like did all kind of stuff over 20 years, and they couldn't find anything, he probably didn't do it. But I don't know. But go ahead, Brian, you jump on board here.
I think that it was probably one of two major people. It's got to be either Arthur Lee Allen or I think Rick that knew them personally, because at some point this at least when you were referencing, this killer started with the couple that he knew personally and kind of like went from there. Now, I could be wrong about this, but did Rick knew somebody personally in the whole ordeal, and Arthur Lee Allen knew somebody personally in the whole ordeal?
Richard Gakowski knew two people.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that moved across the country.
Yes, he moved following
that's very interesting.
Darlene Farron, she got married and stuff.
I think Arthur Lee Allen was hanging out with somebody at one point because they referred to him as Lee, didn't they? Like friends of his?
I think so. Like the people that got murdered?
Well, no. I mean, like somebody that I'm trying to recall here. It was early on in the case, one of the first murders. They would hang out at painting parties, and someone referred to their friend as
That was Lee. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I do remember that now.
That was a big piece that they never could connect because they never could push the warrants on Lee after a certain point. So
yeah, I guess it's fair to note that like they have never, while the police and they never officially charged anybody because they know that they have to be very clear because they only get one shot. They mess that up, they're not getting another shot. If they put all this effort forward to say this was it, and then it's not it, and there's something that messed up, or they don't have the clear enough. They can't do it again if they figure it out later. They get one shot to take these guys to trial. So, Jordan, what do you think? What is your theories? What do you think happened? Who was it?
Well, hold on, Brian. Did you have some other ones?
First, Brian?
Did you have other ones?
I do think it was one of those two guys. I do think that it was a personal relationship early on, and then they kind of like developed into like, I wouldn't say like a rampage or whatever, but something that inspired this person to go on this killing spree. And then I think the Zodiac thing just kind of popped into their heads after like it was just like an idea they had, like maybe I can turn this into something, make myself some kind of spectacle.
Louis Joseph Myers attended the same high school as Faraday and Jensen, so that's where that came from. That's one of them, and then
But then again, this is also across state lines too, so there is the theories of that where they actually connected, or was he or she taking credit for other killings that were just out there. There were some details early on, but I don't think it was entirely that way over the course of everything. So a lot of twists and turns there. But I do think, I do think the Zodiac's dead. I think that's one thing. But I think it was one of those major, I think it was either Arthur Lee Allen or Richard that knew the personal victims at first.
So Jordan, who do you think the Zodiac is?
I do think there has to be a reason. Whoever this is, the Zodiac, I think there needs to be a reason, why they stopped killing or writing. There has to be like a. It seems like they would have kept going until they would have got caught. Right? It's the way, the amount of like publicity he wanted or she wanted for themselves. There needs to be a logical reason why this person stopped doing it, and it seems like, at least with is it Richard? It seems like a lot of that stuff's synced up, sunk up, as far as like letters stopping being written, or like just timing of everything. But I always thought that, like, and then based on this totally on the movie, The Zodiac, it was Arthur Lee Allen. Just because, well, the writer of the book, which was Gray Smith, which is what the movie was based off of, that book. So, like, obviously is much biased in that, but apparently it's pretty accurate as far as what the police did.
Not solve it. Screw it up. Yeah.
But there was so many like red tape issues. Like they didn't have the ability to fax information over state lines to other offices and things like that. So there was just a lot of like misinformation going back and forth.
I just did like my own, like, I don't know. Over the years, I've kind of looked into this here, and like Arthur Lee Allen always kind of stuck out with me. But I don't know, that Richard guy, man, the whole moving across the state, the timing of that whole thing, like, and he knew one of the victims, right?
Yeah, he followed her across the state lines to Albany, New York.
Yeah,
and worked in the competing newspaper of her husband.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, riddle me this: do you think it could be multiple victims, multiple murders?
It's definitely possible, sure.
What's more likely? That's one guy that did all of this, or is it multiple people?
I think a killer. If there was a second killer, it could have been one of the victims. And he could have taken credit, he or she. But
do you think it was a copycat?
Well, you say you think one of the killers might have been one of the victims?
No. I was saying that one of the victims was not killed by the acting Zodiac killer.
Okay.
They took credit for it.
Gotcha. You said he killed 37 people. Then he scribbled on that cop car, or outside their one victim's car.
Do you think the reason why the letter stopped and everything is because he got put in jail for a speeding ticket or unpaid tickets, and he was just in jail the rest of his life?
Maybe it wouldn't be for speeding tickets, but
I'm saying like in jail for
but
whatever.
I'm saying there had to be a reason why he stopped writing.
He could have slipped down the steps and broke his neck.
Yeah,
fell in the shower.
Yeah,
could have got bored.
Yeah.
He got an Atari or something. Is that when
he started playing Pong?
Yeah.
He got into the pinball craze.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Pac-Man was hot. I mean, I personally think it was multiple people that were. It was it's 5 murders out of how many? And one guy writing letters. I mean, crazy people write letters all the time. Like, think how many people write letters to murderers in jail that are like, "I'm in love with you." You know, like that type of stuff. It happens all the time. I cannot think of in the 70s, satanic panic, like all this stuff's going on. Serial killers are huge. Like, I can't think of a more of a reason than be like, there's one guy writing letters, and there's a bunch of there's some people that murdered a couple people. They were disconnected. They use different weapons. I mean, other than that one guy seeing them,
knifing, shooting.
Yeah, like they even say he did different things.
Yeah.
So
why was unusual for a serial killer?
Right. He didn't. Other than he was killing, young couples. Which, I mean, am I right? Who of us hasn't thought about that? No, but like, and then you have a sensationalized media going crazy about this, being like, "Oh my God, we're all gonna die from the Zodiac."
Yeah.
I mean, I just think I think it's more likely that it's multiple people with one or two, like a few people taking credit for it. Ciphers, if you saw the first cipher, you know how to make the rest of them. You know how to like make the logo and like say the things that he said.
Which everyone did because
the letters were posted. So it's like you can easily mimic that stuff, unless it's like a penmanship type of thing.
Well, that goes, if he says multiple people, they could go back to the teachers who saw the married couple.
Yeah.
who solved it. They were the killers. It was
Yeah.
them.
They wanted to be solved.
They took the reins.
I think it's just one guy writing letters. Maybe he knew how to get the media's attention really well. He was really good at marketing. These other guys weren't really good at marketing. They were writing letters too, but they were just getting thrown away because they're like the Zodiac, and they're like opening that one up. I mean,
also the Arthur Lee Allen thing. I think that the killer would have kept doing this until they died or were caught. Arthur Lee Allen, what was he doing after 74? I can't remember. Like what? Why? Like what would have caused him to? If it was him to actually stop,
his back started hurting or something.
Maybe the heat was getting on him because he kept getting for 20 years he kept getting poked and prodded by the police. So he's like, I got to stop. Or
I would think he would have to start back up again if it was like a truly.
Because he died in 92, right?
Yes, he had to have, unless he was just good at maybe he moved. I can't remember what it said about him.
The other thing is too is that at that age or that long into it, is he capable of doing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just don't know what he. It is weird that he stopped, and it seemed like they said in the letters he looked like he sounded like he was getting crazier as time went on. In the 74 shooting, again, couldn't have been him.
Yeah,
could have been another guy.
Yeah,
who shot a cab driver.
Some nut job just writing and saying they did it.
Exactly, or it could have been Zodiac killed the first four people, and then that cab driver was someone else and he took credit for it because he was in the area or something.
Yeah.
If you had to like, okay, here's a magic wand, Brian, put anybody in handcuffs. The time machine question that we brought up in one of the last episodes. You go back in time, okay? You can go back to 1974 and arrest one person. Who would you arrest?
Arthur Lee Allen.
Okay.
That's the question.
Mm.
Because here's the thing. End of the day, whether or not he was the Zodiac Killer, he was convicted of other creepy crimes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Lock him up.
And I'm just reminded that there was all the Lake Tahoe murders that could have been associated with him. Murder in Lake Tahoe. That murder, which was not it was very close to San Francisco, right? Where's Lake Tahoe at?
Yeah, didn't he claim, I'm just throwing this out there. Didn't Arthur Lee Allen claim once that he had blood on his knives from killing a chicken for dinner in the film?
I think so, yeah.
That might have been
Yeah. In the movie, I know he had the watch that had the Zodiac symbol on it. That was,
the soul Zodiac, yeah.
I don't know if that was real or made up or not, though.
I mean, what I will say in the film is they went into a lot of detail on the case.
They did, yeah.
So here's something else.
It's his birthday today.
So Alan owned and wore a Zodiac brand wristwatch.
Okay. All right.
Okay. He also lives in Vallejo and worked minutes away from one of the Zodiac victims, Farron, resided. In 2002, the SFPD developed a partial DNA profile from the saliva on the stamps and envelopes of the Zodiac letters. The SFPD compared this partial DNA to that of Allen. The DNA comparison was also made with the DNA of John Cheney, who was Allen's former close friend and the first person to suggest Allen may be the Zodiac. Since neither test results indicated a match, Allen and Cheney were excluded on the contributors of the DNA. Retired police handwriting expert Lloyd Cunningham, who worked on the Zodiac case for decades, stated, "They gave me banana boxes full of Allen's writings, and none of his writings even came close to that of the Zodiac, nor did DNA extracted from the envelopes on the letters come close to Arthur Lee Allen's." So it seems like there's a lot of here and there.
Yeah, but I got a question, not the handwriting so much, but I got a question that what is the DNA accurate? How did they have his saliva from 1970?
From the letters.
But how accurate is that compared to
I mean, it has to be accurate enough that they could get a profile of it. It would either be it's not like it's going to be because it's so old, it's a little different. It's just here's his DNA profile, and if they have to have DNA profile or they don't. Like it's like one or the other. They either have it or they. It's not like they have half of it. So if they have a little bit of it,
it's deterioration over time that I'm curious about. Like how do you maintain that over time to like does that even hold that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean,
on the back of a stamp, right?
They've extracted DNA from things like from woolly mammoths and crap, right?
Yeah.
So
Jurassic
It's real, man.
Dino DNA.
The handwriting thing, I feel like, I don't know. You're right with the other hand for like the letters, I don't know.
Some of the suspects, at least, was ambidextrous,
I think so, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then you're like kind of like making up excuses for why he isn't.
Right,
him.
yeah.
You're kind of like
Grasping at straws.
yeah, like he could have been it, maybe, or he could have been one of many. He could have been. I think that there's first off, there's so many other people that they say, even from recent times, like they're like, oh, this guy did it. Like there's a story about a police detective. He wrote a book called The Black Dahlia Avenger, that his father was the perpetrator in the 1947 Black Dahlia case. In his follow-up book, he argued circumstantial evidence that his father was also the Zodiac, based upon a police sketch and similar to the style of Zodiac letters. The correspondence hindered the unidentified suspect in the Dahlia case. So, I mean,
have you guys done the Black Dahlia stuff?
No. Yeah, that's yeah.
Jordan's doing that one because this one took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
There's so I can't believe how many there are out there.
That's why it's that's probably why it's the most famous like serial killer. It's probably one of the most.
There's people that release books about it, like my father is him. Like my father was this. I'm gonna write an entire book about it.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't just like a killer. He was a social like boogeyman back then. It became the thing that people feared in the media and going out at night, at least in that area.
Yep. And he was doing this. He did it at night in broad daylight. Like that's terrifying. You don't know like when they're he's gonna strike next or kill next.
It had to be. I bet you it was like one of those things where it's like the church was like, oh, say that these are killing. He's murdering people, and like it never actually. That's like part of the hoax theories. Like it was the society being like, if you go up there and neck in the woods, they're gonna murder you.
Make out road, yeah.
And so like they were like the church was spreading it as a way to get kids not to go out and commit sins.
That's you have to get. That's a lot of people. Like you have to get in on a conspiracy theory, though.
You just have to have one priest saying it in the '60s.
Yeah, but it's on the news and stuff. Then though, they have to be.
One priest could have been writing letters.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the Cropsey thing. You ever hear that stuff? The Cropsey murders.
Is that in New Jersey?
Yeah, like New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, I think
it was a campfire tale that was like a real child killer or something like that.
Yeah, that's on. That's a documentary on Netflix. Like one of the first big documentaries on Netflix, I think. I did watch that for some reason.
Wait, so was that like made up? Is it?
Well, it was and it wasn't. It was a real killer, but he almost became a folktale that turned into like all these
like a cautionary kind of thing.
Yeah, like don't go out in the woods and after a night, like that kind of thing, or crops. He's gonna get you.
Okay, so there are. Again, we have no way of solving this murder mystery. We are really bad at solving things. Sorry. Yeah, we're just chatting,
yakking it up.
Where do you think the phrase chit chat came from?
Chit chat.
Yeah.
Chat.
Yeah.
Chat.
No idea.
I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I'm gonna look it up.
That's what happens whenever you're me. I spend most of my day just wondering dumb crap that no one cares about. And you guys look at me like I'm weird. Yeah. Is it a simile? What's a simile?
Conversation about matters that are not important.
Yeah, where'd it come from? What's its etymology?
What does it do? Like fireside chat, maybe?
Fireside chat. Where's fire means shit somewhere else?
I guess.
It was the reduplication of chat. And the first known use was 1605.
1605.
So they didn't want to say chat. They were like chit chat.
Yeah. Now you'd also say chit chatting or chitterone.
Chitterone?
Chitterone? Oh, that's a good one.
Chitty chat?
We're just sitting here chitteroning about. What did we call Brian earlier? The beans bunker? Bunker beans? Bunker beans.
Bunker Beans, Brian.
That's me.
Yeah.
Brian Bunker Beans.
Brian Bunker Beans. That's a good screen
That's
name
me.
for you. Brian Bunker Beans. Change everything you owned. Brian Bunker Beans right now. All right. Everybody, thank you for
Maybe
being
the
here.
Manson thing, though, that could go along with multiple. I mean, it wasn't Charles Manson, but like along with a multiple killer thing for the Zodiac. I mean, I don't think it was them, but I don't know.
What was the movie Hairspray about?
I don't think I ever saw it. I don't
Okay.
know.
The original or the
I
remake?
don't know. I was just thinking about Fried Green Tomatoes.
Was John
again.
Travolta in that?
I don't know.
Let's talk movies, guys. No, yeah, John Travolta was in the remake of Hairspray.
Okay.
What was
All
the
right.
movie with Gilbert Grape? What's eating Gilbert Grape? That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Do you guys ever see that movie?
Yeah, it's depressing.
I've never seen it.
It's
I just
so
remember the
depressing.
commercials. What was eating Gilbert Grape? We should write it.
His life, yeah.
We should
yeah.
make a YouTube channel called What Was Eating Gilbert Grape?
Because Leo DiCaprio
Was he in that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Disability.
Yeah.
younger brother, and then his mother was very overweight, and then she. I won't. You know what? You can figure it
You
out.
figure it out.
Was it like Benjamin Button type of thing?
No.
No,
Yeah.
So what was the point of the movie?
just because he was like this 20-year-old dude with all this like.
Baggage?
Family stuff going on, yeah.
So what was the ending?
He got eight. I don't know.
You said he got AIDS? Is that what you said?
He got eight.
He got aided.
Oh, he got AIDS. I thought you said he got AIDS.
He got eated.
Like, man, that would have really just that was really capped that movie off. Jeez.
That had to end horribly. Like
I-
gas leak, everybody died.
I mean, probably a sense of hope at
yeah,
the end.
yeah. It's oh man, it's hard to watch.
It wasn't like one of those movies that you just like hate yourself to watching after.
Was that right after Titanic?
That was before, right?
What?
This is like the
What?
mid '90s. I think that's when it came out.
What? When was Titanic?
'99, like 2000, something like that.
No,
Titanic.
6 or 97.
I don't know, because my first date ever was the Titanic. My first date ever. That was terrible.
Was your first date? Was Titanic?
Yeah, and I got stood up. 1997.
What about Gilbert Grape?
Oh. What's eating
What year is that eating?
Gilbert?
94.
Yeah, I'm gonna say '94.
93.
Ooh,
Oh, Johnny Depp was in that. He
Mhm.
was Gilbert Grape.
Have you guys seen the film True Romance?
yeah.
Okay, you've seen it. Have you seen it, Chris?
Hell no.
What?
You ever see A Little Romance?
A Little Romance?
Yeah, it's a movie.
All right. Figure that.
Hold on, shut up.
It's a movie.
Shut up.
Honeymoon in Vegas
Nope.
with Nicolas Cage.
You mean like Leaving Las Vegas?
That's very different.
I don't
they're
know.
Two different. One is okay. Leaving Las Vegas, he's an alcoholic trying to kill
Yeah.
himself.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Is he Elvis?
Wait, is that
What?
the one with Ashton Kutcher and that girl Brittany Murphy that died?
No, that's a different Vegas movie.
It's Honeymoon in Vegas. He
No,
played
Claire Danes was in that one.
Elvis impersonator in that.
Yes, you know.
Okay,
yes.
all right, yeah. Yes, yeah. I've seen that a long time ago.
The idea is that his wife is Sarah Jessica Parker, and James Caan's wife that died looks just like her. So he sets it up in a poker game that Nicolas Cage like loses a bunch of
Yeah,
money
yeah,
to
yep.
him. Sets it up that the wife has to go with him or the girlfriend or whatever. It's a very funny movie, and I'll say this: the only reason I bring it up is because Nicolas Cage flips out in the second half of that movie, like to an amazing
Yes.
degree. Like,
Yeah.
Did you ever see A Far Off Place? The Disney movie with the people in the desert?
if we're gonna talk obscure movies,
No,
like,
it's a Disney movie. It's not obscure. It's in the
Far Off
90s.
You seen Solar Babies?
Yes,
No.
yes, I have. Chuck and I used to watch it all the time. Like we watched it like recently, a couple years ago. It's not very good. Did you ever wait? Did you ever see Deathbed, the bed that eats?
Eats people? Yeah, I've seen.
That's cool.
There's a lot of bad movies I like. Like, you guys have seen Miami Connection, right? What?
Darby O'Gill and Little People. Okay, Far Off Plays 1993. Man, the early 90s killed it. What's her? So that's who it was. Reese Witherspoon was in it.
Disney movie?
Yes, it's a live action movie. They have to like escape across the desert because her family gets murdered. Like across the Sahara. Like, and she's young in this, 93. She's pretty young.
All right.
Yeah, I remember watching it as a
Never
kid
heard
for
of it.
some reason. I think we had it on cassette tape. Yeah, A Little Romance, 1979. That's two 13-year-olds run away in Paris together.
There's a movie. There's one movie I haven't been able to figure out in my life. It was a kid's movie.
Okay.
Obviously.
Okay.
Okay.
You sure?
Well, I know. I remember. I don't think you guys will get it. It's about like a troll that lives under a rainbow, and it's like a rainbow machine. And that's all I remember. And apparently there was like, this troll had a rainbow machine, and it was a kid's movie. I've been trying
Are you
to
sure
look
you
it up
just
for
weren't
you.
dreaming this and you're tucked up in your little Betty Bye with your footy pajamas on?
In your baby bunker?
Baby bunker.
Are we still recording?
Yes. All right. We got to end this now. Jordan's going to look up the...
Keep talking for a minute afterward.
We put all the banter at the end so people like get suckered into it. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here with us. Sticking through us. This is a long one. We have two episodes that are super long because they cover something insanely deep and insanely long, and just took a lot out of my life to get this together. Writing this up was a living hell because it's so intricate, so crazy, and completely unsolved. Jordan, thank you again, Jordan, for being here.
Thanks for doing all that,
Thanks
Chris.
for gathering aboard. You're doing the next murder one.
Okay.
Bunker Brian,
Bunker Beans.
Brian Bunker Beans, thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking along this ride with us. Thank you for turning your lights on and opening the door.
I had to clean up the office down here. It's been an experience. I got to go put a fresh coat on this floor to get nice and smelly.
How
Sheen.
many steps up do you have to go to get to the surface?
Or is it a ladder?
Actually, no. I have. It's a series of segues on the longest slant known to man.
Okay.
It's actually like I have to climb it for at least 5 minutes on a Segway before I can reach the surface. And I don't always reach it because of my size and weight. So it's very dangerous.
Well, thank you for being here. We hope to have you back soon in the future sometimes.
Thank you.
We all love you. Thank you again for Bunker Brian. Find him at, what was it again? Cream Team on
Twitch.tv/Cream Team.
Twitch.tv/Cream Team. It'll be in the show notes. Also,
Cream of wheat.
Twitch.com/Cream Team. It'll be in the show notes. That'll be, jeez. Anyway, also a member of Deathlehem, our intro theme music. And we love you, and we thank you so much for being here.
Guys. Thank you guys for having
Of course,
me.
man.
It's been
Thank
fun.
We will see you again soon on another mysterious day, mysterious time, mysterious place. Jordan, tell everybody to follow us and find us.
Follow us and find us. Like us. Comment. Stay mysterious. What is happening?
On YouTube at Mysterious
Yes.
Pals, mysteriousPals@gmail.com, www.mysteriousPals.com, mysteriousPals.com. Find us there.
Yeah. We're on Instagram.
At Mysterious Pals. On Twitter, Threads, all the socials.
The book face.
If you go to the website, it's all there.
There's Jordy LaForge.
Thank you again, everybody out there. Thank you, Brian, Bunker Brian, Beans, and Jordan. Good night, everybody. Thank you again.